I was only gonna do one high-end and one drugstore per category. This is like the meat and potatoes of the powder, but I have to tell you about this one too. After 20 years as a makeup artist, I have tested just about every face powder out there on myself and on clients of all ages and all skin types. Today, I'm sharing the best face powders for oily, dry, and mature skin based on real experience. Let's start with oily skin, my favorite of all skin types because it's my skin type. These are the key features that you want to look for. The first one is oil absorbing, obviously. The next one is mattifying because oily skin gets shiny really, really fast. And the third, and one of the most important things that you want to look for, is something that is long wearing. Oily skin breaks up makeup very, very quickly. And so the purpose of using powder on that skin type is not only to kind of control shine, although that's a big one, but it's also to keep your makeup from breaking down so that by, mid-afternoon, you suddenly don't have any more makeup on. So you want oil absorbing, mattifying, and long wearing. Now, the key ingredients that are going to get you those features are these, okay? So you're gonna wanna look for something that has silica in it because silica blurs and smooths pores and fine lines. It's a great ingredient in powder. You might also wanna look for something that has kaolin clay because kaolin clay absorbs excess oil. It also reduces shine. Something else that might be great to look for in the ingredient deck is rice powder or cornstarch. That's gonna help with oil control without being too heavy, too chalky. And then of course, you're gonna want something that's oil-free and non-comedogenic. Now, the best finish for this skin type is definitely matte or soft focus. Since oily people have so much shine come through naturally, you don't really want to enhance that shine, right? You want to reduce the shine because even with reduction of shine, you're still going to get shiny throughout the day. It's a long-term game thing, right? You're going to want to reduce the shine. You're going to want to minimize the look of pores because as the shine comes back, all of that gets emphasized again. So you're definitely gonna want to avoid powders with like shimmer or iridescence to them. One of the things that looks shiny in powders is mica, the ingredient mica. So you might want to avoid powders where the first ingredient in the ingredient deck is mica. Although mica is beautiful for other skin types, so we'll get into that in a second. So let's talk a little bit about product recommendations. So in terms of like a higher end product, a product that you can buy at Sephora, my favorite one right now is definitely the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. People are talking about this like crazy. They have been for a very long time and for good reason. It really is an incredible powder. It's very good for many skin types, but I find for oily skin in particular, it's incredible. On the website, this is described as an ultra refined loose powder that absorbs oils, blurs pores, and sets makeup with a matte finish, and it's ideal for baking techniques. And I would agree with that. This really is an amazing powder for baking if you like to bake. Now, say you are on a budget, okay? You're on a budget and you don't want to spend so much for the Huda Beauty powder. This one is amazing for oily skin. I just discovered it and I'm in love. It's the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder. This is a pressed powder that controls shine and smooths the appearance of pores for a very natural matte finish. You guys can see in this clip, I put it on today. It really takes your skin from very textured to very airbrushed. It almost looks like a filter after you use this. It really is amazing. On Amazon, there are over 42,000 reviews and it has a 4.5-star rating. If a product has a lot of reviews and it has a lot of stars, that's a telltale sign that the formula is like amazing. All right, let's move on to dry skin. So here are the key features that you need to look for in a powder if you have dry skin. The first one is hydrating. Now, I know you're gonna say, how the heck is a powder hydrating? It actually can be quite hydrating. We'll get to that in a second. You also definitely want it to be very lightweight so that it's not cakey. If you have dry skin, you might have dried patches, and those heavier powders that aren't as finely milled, they might stick to those dry patches. So you're gonna look for something very lightweight in texture. When you feel it, it feels really fine and silky. And then the third thing that I like to use on dry skin is actually a powder with a luminous finish, not a matte finish. Satin finish works as well if you don't like luminosity, but luminous finish powders on dry skin can be magical. Now for the key ingredients, you're definitely gonna wanna look for something that has hyaluronic acid and maybe even glycerin. Hyaluronic acid in particular is really great because it helps retain moisture, and you can actually find powders with it, believe it or not. All right, a high-end powder that is amazing for dry skin is the Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder Ultra Blur and the Translucent Pressed Setting Powder Ultra Blur. Make sure it's the Ultra Blur one. I don't have them on me. I actually used to have them and I ran out, and I have such an insane amount of powders that I don't want to repurchase it right now, but I have used it. And I know that it is amazing, amazing for dry skin. Now, the reason that it is so good for dry skin, right, is again, because it has hyaluronic acid in it. It's a 16-hour hydrating wear natural finish powder. I bet a lot of you guys didn't even know that was possible for those two things to go together, but they can go together. You can get a hydrating powder, and this is a hydrating powder. This will control shine with a very natural finish, but it's incredibly comfortable for dry skin. You're not gonna put it on and look like the Sahara Desert. You will not. It's very, very good. I was only gonna do one high-end and one drugstore per category, but I have to tell you about this one too. I've talked about this powder quite a bit recently because I was very impressed with it. This is the Sweet Beauty Miracle Powder. Now, this is very different than the Mercier one. This one's actually a mineral powder foundation, but you can definitely use it on top of foundation as a finishing powder as well. The thing that's beautiful about it is that it has a very iridescent finish. It's a very beautiful, glowy, non-matte, very iridescent finish. Now, if sweet is too expensive for you, I actually did find you a dupe. And that's this one, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. This is a finely milled powder that blurs pores and uneven texture, giving you a very luminous, kind of flawless look without clinging to dry patches or feeling too heavy. This one comes in 6 different shades. Now, I have to warn you because after I use this powder, I actually really like setting my under eyes with this powder, believe it or not. It's not quite as luminous as the Sweet one, but it does have some beautiful luminosity to it. And it's extremely, extremely finely milled, but it does have silica in the formula. So it can be a little bit drying for very, very dry skin types. All right, as a heads up. Now, this has mica in the formula. So both this, the Sweet, and the Mercier powder have mica listed as the #1 ingredient in the ingredient deck. And why is that? Okay, I'm going to explain it to you so that when you see mica in other powders, you'll understand kind of what it's there for. Mica is actually light reflecting. So what it does is it just gives off this natural radiance, and it really prevents like a flat, chalky look. It doesn't look matte at all. Bare Minerals powder foundation also has mica. So it gives this like reflective quality that's not sparkly. It's just very radiant. I think radiant is the word for that. There's a lot of radiance in mica. Something else that mica does is it blurs imperfections. So it softens fine lines, pores, it softens texture for like that smooth airbrushed effect. Mica really is the most ideal ingredient for dry or for mature skin. It's a great ingredient for that. Speaking of mature skin, let's get into mature skin, everyone's favorite topic on this channel. When we are talking about mature skin, here are some of the key features that we want to look for. The first one is blurring. When your skin loses collagen, it loses that kind of foundation underneath it that makes it look really plump and smooth. And because of that loss of collagen, you're going to end up with more visible looking pores. It's not like your pores have just gotten bigger out of nowhere. It's that we've lost collagen, and collagen's like the supporting framework that makes the pores look small. So because of that, you're gonna wanna use a powder that's blurring because that's going to offset the look of larger pores. You're also gonna wanna look for something that's very lightweight and non-drying. right? Because drying powders really emphasize fine lines a lot. They will give you lines you never even knew you had. It's crazy. And you're gonna wanna look for something, again, that's extremely finely milled. In order to get those features, here are some key ingredients that you might wanna look for in that powder. So one is hyaluronic acid and ceramides. Again, for the same reason as dry skin, right? It's very hydrating, it's very smoothing, and we know that you can find those in powders. So hyaluronic acid is a great thing to look for in your powder. Another one's actually silica and then mica, like I said before. So silica is great because it really does provide a really soft focus, like airbrushed blurring effect. And mica is so luminous and radiant that it's very flattering. In terms of your finish, you're gonna be much better off with a satin or a natural finish, maybe even a radiant or luminous finish, because that's gonna enhance the skin without settling or over drying those fine lines, especially around the eyes. And you're gonna want to avoid really heavy matte powders because they can definitely emphasize wrinkles. They can definitely emphasize dry patches. So for product recommendations, this has been a holy grail in my kit for, I think, 10 years. Okay, this is the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder. This is described on the website as an ultra soft, loose powder designed to provide sheer, lightweight coverage with a natural matte finish. So if you're not the type of person that loves a very luminous finish, even though I think it looks really nice on more mature skin. If you want more of like a natural soft matte finish, this is a great powder for that. Honestly, this powder is great for everyone, but I particularly appreciate its ability to set makeup without creating like a heavy or cakey appearance. And that's why I love it for mature skin. It's super universal. If you don't want a radiant powder, right? I get that. A lot of people don't like that. This is good for that, but you don't want a powder that's so matte and drying either. This is good for that. This is like the meat and potatoes of the powder world. Everyone's gonna like it because it just does what it's supposed to do without being too much of anything. Chanel makeup is beautiful, but it is very, very expensive. So I found you a drugstore option that I think you're going to love. And this is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. So many people are obsessed with this powder. It is a drugstore staple. This is a mineral-based powder. It's lightweight, it's breathable. Again, it provides like a natural finish that's not luminous. It's not super matte either. It controls shine without settling into fine lines. Something else that I love about it that I think mature women will appreciate is that it is quite versatile, right? Since this is a mineral-based formula and you can get it in loads of different colors, it comes in 8 shades. You can use it like a powder foundation on its own, just to blur and soften and maybe even bronzen the skin. As we get older, we tend to lose color. We get so kind of fair. We don't have like that color in our face. So you can get a shade, maybe that's 1 shade darker than your face, and apply it just to give yourself a little bit of color on its own, completely quick and easy with a fluffy brush. Or you can use it to set your makeup, use it on top of your makeup. Very versatile, very affordable, and very, very well made. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that kind of breaking down some of the ingredients for each category was helpful for you. Let me know if you found that helpful in the comments. Getting your feedback really helps me when I'm trying to create other videos for you. This video's over.